2. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Vikings Now. Jim Rich here with Ahmad, Hicks, and Pierre Noujaim, and your Minnesota Vikings are now. Is this rock bottom? Yeah. Have we found rock bottom now?
Absolutely.
We nothing. The floor will not give out anymore on this team. We are there. 26-0. They lose to the Seahawks today.
Are you asking for the season or just in terms of where the franchise is at right now?
Well, we could get to that too, but let's just go this season right now to start with, Pierre.
Yeah, obviously this absolutely is rock bottom. I mean, we're sitting here thinking, well, okay, if Max Brosmer is going to get a chance, how can it look any worse than J.J. McCarthy? Well, we found out that the Vikings were shut out today for the first time since 2007.
Yes.
I believe
Green
that's
Bay
correct.
Packers, yes.
So, and of course, not all of it is on Max, but Max did not play up to the standard that I'm sure he had in his mind of how he wanted to do in his first NFL start. But, boy, today was just, man, It's almost hard to put words together for this type of performance because it leaves you thinking this is not what we expected from this team going into this season. I think a lot of us thought that this team on paper was good enough to compete for the NFC North crown, at worst perhaps be a wild card team, and now you're down in the dumps sitting at 4-8 overall. Your playoff chances are all but over.
They're over.
It really is kind of bewildering to kind of look at where this team is at right now and how terrible they have looked, particularly on offense. Defensively today, that squad did about as much as it could do to keep them in the game.
They were great. They didn't quit at all. You know, people are like, oh, you get in a bad game and you know you're not come out, and sometimes guys bail, but you did not see that at all from this Vikings defense.
Yeah, there's just no signs of momentum in any direction on offense, really. I mean, Kevin O'Connell is known for putting together pretty good offenses and getting the most out of his talent, and right now we have not seen that in a month. We haven't seen it since the Lions game. Ever since the Lions game in Detroit, it has been all downhill for this Minnesota offense.
Ahmad?
The optimism I had on this podcast about a month ago, it's gone. It's gone. But I start this podcast with a message to all those people out here just blasting the quarterback week after week after week after week. No quarterback just comes in and has instant success. And I think a lot of Minnesota homers that went to the University of Minnesota, watched Brosmer, were like, well, give him a shot. He could be better than McCarthy. 126 and 4 interceptions. You can make the argument that 2 of the interceptions weren't his fault, but they get credited towards him. 4 interceptions, his first debut. He's the first quarterback to make in his first start to throw 4+ interceptions since you know who?
I do not. Enlighten
Do you know
us.
who?
In his first start?
In his first start.
Tom Brady, because that's what they'll always say, right?
No.
They go,
That's who they were saying.
This bad.
Actually, I'm going to have to reach into my bag. First, actually, I'm not going to be able to come up with this one, I don't think.
Nathan Peterman, who had 5 interceptions versus the Chargers back in 2017. You know where Nathan Peterman is now?
Probably doing what we're doing, a podcast somewhere.
Hello.
Was this when he played for the Bills or the Raiders?
I think that's when he played for the Bills.
Okay.
So here's my thing. Playing quarterback in the National Football League is not easy. And I think people need to take a chill pill when you're talking about J.J. McCarthy and when you're talking about Max Brosmer. I was a little not on Max Brosmer, but I was doubling down on all those Gophers homers who are like, well, he's better than McCarthy. You got to go give him a shot.
No,
I mean, at this
5
point,
more chances.
You know what but I think right now what we need to realize is, and it's something I was telling you guys upstairs, Bryce Young, which to Pierre's point was very talented, led his team to the college football playoff, all those things. Well, he missed it his second year, but was a member on a team that went to the playoffs. Bryce Young was the number 1 overall pick. Got drafted by the Carolina Panthers. They stunk it up his first year. This second year, they went out and got Adam Thielen. They went out and got weapons for him. He got benched after a couple of games into his second season. Andy Dalton comes in, does the same thing Andy Dalton is known for. They lose a lot of games. They go back to Bryce Young. He finds his confidence. It's up and down a little bit this year, but just defeated the Los Angeles Rams and now has his Carolina Panthers at the top of their division and with a chance to go to the playoffs. That's my whole point is, you have to have patience when you're talking about young quarterbacks in the National Football League. And if it's not perfect around them, like a Brock Purdy situation was when he got picked up by San Francisco, had Christian McCaffrey, all these guys, it's going to take time. And that's what I think people need to realize with this whole year for the Minnesota Vikings. The offensive line that we thought was better, it hasn't been better. The defense has been better than the defense has been as good as we thought they would be these last couple of weeks when Van Ginkel and Cashman came back. The offense starts up front, though, and they have not been good, and they have been injured all season.
Yeah, and, injuries happen, and you can't really account for them per se, but you look at this free agent class that they brought in, and it did not pan out like it did a year ago when every pick turned into gold for them, with Grenard coming in, with Cashman, with Van Ginkel. We've not seen anybody from that free agent class really shine this year. Isaiah Rodgers had a highlight game, and he's been good, but nobody has taken their game to where we've seen it out of those three I previously mentioned.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, and that's kind of the disappointing part, too, because when you see, especially where they went in the offseason, in the trenches, both on the offensive line and the defensive line, Jonathan Allen, I mean, I rarely hear his name during games. Javon Hargrave, I've heard a couple of times here and there, but it's just been – Jalen Redmond has been the best defensive lineman they've had all season long, and he just came from the UFL a couple of years ago, and he has turned himself into perhaps the most consistent defensive presence they've had all season long. So it's I don't want to sit here and just like completely pile on Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, because I mean his track record of free agency.
Who got us into this situation?
Hold on a second. Well, you weren't bitching about him like last week when he was, or where last year when the free agency that the free agent acquisitions that he had over the last couple of years, they won 13 games last year.
I'm talking about the overall product.
Well, I mean,
where we're sitting today with
quarterback.
You took a 14-win team and have driven them into the ground.
I'm saying that the free agency classes that he has acquired over the years have traditionally been good. This year has not been good.
Yeah, no, I'm not trashing him over that. I got other reasons.
Well, yeah, I mean the draft record has been abysmal. It's been abysmal.
Yeah,
there's no question about it.
That's why you had to go spend $300 million in free agency
100%.
this offseason to try to get yourself respectable.
Yeah, and you swung and missed on a few guys. It happens in free agency. You swung and missed. Whether or not you pay a price for that, we wait and see, but I highly doubt it.
The ultimate price? No, it won't happen now. You just gave them contract extensions.
I know you did.
There's no way that the Wilfs, if the Wilfs really went off the deep end and did something like that, that would be pretty crazy.
Well, I think if you ended up doing that, if you replace a general manager, I think you eventually are going to have to replace your head coach too, because most of the guys that are coming in that come in as a general manager, they want to handpick their own guy.
Absolutely.
So if you fire Kwesi, that essentially means to me that eventually you are going to fire your head coach Kevin O'Connell. I don't think the Wilfs are at that point yet by any means. And no matter how the Vikings finish, whether they win out the rest of the season or whether they lose out the rest of the season, I don't think either of those two guys are in trouble as of right now.
Ahmad?
So I'm looking at his draft picks since he's gotten here. So you could say he hit with Levi Drake Rodriguez, who's a 7th-round pick, Will Reichert, who's a 6th-round pick,
Jordan Addison,
Dallas Turner is emerging, so you hit with him in the 1st round. And then outside of that, Jay Ward's playing this year, Mekhi Blackman. So the 2023 draft is
Blackman's gone.
He's gone. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you go to his first. You go to his first draft. Andrew Booth, Lewis Seen, gone. Andrew Booth, gone. Ed Ingram, gone. Brian Asamoah, gone. Caleb Evans, gone. Azizi Otumaway, gone. Ty Chandler still on the team, not doing anything. Vidarian Lowe, gone. And then Nick Muse, gone. You go to 2023, Jordan Addison, hit. Mekhi Blackman, gone. Jay Ward, he's playing now. He's decent. Ja'Kalen Roy, gone. Jaren Hall, gone. Dwayne McBride, not on the team.
It's a bad track record. I would even argue. I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I would even argue, with Jordan Addison, in terms of him being he's had a successful start to his career. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at Jordan Addison just because I drafted in the 1st round. I'm not looking at a guy like Jordan Addison thinking I have to bring him back. And he's going to want a new contract in the offseason.
How can you afford to bring him back when you're paying Justin Jefferson and that offensive line? I mean, there's a lot of people getting paid.
You can't, but I mean, in terms of do I need to have Jordan Addison back?
I think this offense is better when he's on the field and he's playing up to his potential. He's had some costly drops this year, some for J.J. McCarthy. He had one for Max Brosmer today. Similar type route coming across the middle, ball just a little bit outside of his catch radius, but it's one that he'll tell you he has to bring in, especially a Biletnikoff winner in college, first-round draft pick here in the NFL. He has to play better. I think he's had a little bit of a regression this year as opposed to previous years. Maybe you can credit that to his 3-game suspension, missing time with McCarthy early on. A lot of
quarterback play has been bad.
Quarterback play has been bad. You could attribute that to that as well. Right. But like we said, it all starts up front. And I think Pierre asked earlier, or Jared, our photojournalist, asked, what's the number one draft priority? And it has to be offensive line. Because when you look at the Eagles, when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, when you look at the Los Angeles Rams this year, like all the teams that typically have success go on to win Super Bowls are the teams with elite offensive lines and elite defensive lines. And to Pierre's credit, Kwesi has hit on some drafts. I mean, not drafts, free agent picks.
Right.
But he has not hit on draft picks. And that is where you find your cream of the crop. That's where you develop your players. That's where you get your depth on your rosters and save a little bit of cash because you got guys under cap control for 4 to 5 years.
Exactly.
Him swinging and missing is now costing them because they have to go out and go pay everybody. And so I think Kwesi needs to do better, but how do you fire a GM that just got a 4 or 5 year extension?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
so it's
what
like,
I mean.
And then everybody that he brought in. I mean, I would have to go look at the guarantee money, how much is there next year. But Will Fries, 5-year, $88 million. Ryan Kelly, 2 years, $18 million. Donovan Jackson, first-round draft pick. Jonathan Allen, $33+ million. Javon Hargrave, $20+ million. Like, you sunk a lot of money into these players, and
exactly.
to have to eat that, some cap space or some money next year to let them walk and try again. It's like, and then you trade away a 4th and a 6th round draft pick for Adam Thielen,
who was inactive
and
today.
Then don't use them. I mean, I said that at the beginning of the season. Why aren't you trusting a Jalen Naylor and a Lucky Jackson? Like, why aren't you trusting a Miles Price who showed flashes during preseason? Like, I get this thing I've said about Minnesota since I've gotten here. People in Minnesota love their players who are past their prime because they were loyal to them and good to the community. It's like, why not bring Adam Thielen back? He's a good locker room morale boost. We need players who can play, not locker room guys at this point.
To Ahmad's point, too, I mean, you need to look no further than the Bears. And what did they do? What was priority number one
Offensive
in the
line.
offseason?
Offensive
they have 2
line.
new guards and a new center.
And drafted a left tackle.
Correct. It remade the entire offensive line.
And now 9-3.
Now, I don't want to, overcorrect it too much and say it's all because of that, because they have themselves a heck of a head coach doing Ben Johnson. He knows what he's doing. But at the same time, too, like I said, to Ahmad's point, that revamped offensive line has paid off dividends in the development of Caleb Williams. Dividends. Last year, Caleb Williams was running for his life, getting sacked on nearly every single play. And even though Justin Fields' career has not panned out, the Bears didn't do him any favors when they drafted him in the first round because that offensive line was still just as bad. So with what you see with what Ryan Pace and Ben Johnson and the Bears have done in terms of prioritizing the offensive line, not to say that's not what the Vikings did, because you saw what Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah did in the offseason, bringing in Will Fries and Ryan Kelly.
He tried.
It just has not worked out. I think the question now really with those two guys is, why did you pay big money for guys coming off major injury, or Will Fries in particular, coming off major injury?
Ryan Kelly, too.
Ryan Kelly was coming off injury as well. So that's maybe where the conversation, I think, can be had in terms of why were you so adamant in terms of bringing guys in who were coming off a major injury? I know the obvious answer, it would be, well, we were banking on them rounding back into form. So it hasn't worked out. Swing and a miss on free agency. Can't swing and miss 2 years in a row, though.
I'm not sure who's in that scouting department, and I never advocate for people to get fired, especially in this economy that we're in right now. But I think you have to take a long, hard look at Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah's team and his scouting department, because your scouting department is who basically you're responsible for drafting. Because I asked Kwesi a couple of years ago, I said, when you need a player, how does it work? I said, are you watching tape on these guys? Have you invested hours into studying them and their craft? He said, no, I typically go to my scouts or my guys and I say, hey, this is the type of player that I'm looking for. And then they bring me back a list of players and I watch from what they present to me. Seems like they haven't presented you good players recently. Yes, you did hit home runs on Blake Cashman, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard.
Those aren't draft picks.
Absolute homer. Exactly. So my thing is somebody has to do something differently. You have to go get some other guys with more football knowledge or better football eyes because you can't keep swinging and missing in drafts. You look at Howie Roseman and why the Philadelphia Eagles are successful year in and year out. It's because he drafts extremely well. Then he makes great trades at the trade deadline. Like this year, how many first through 5 round picks do the Eagles have next year? They have like 8 picks in the first 5 rounds next year.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, I'm not saying it's that easy to go out and do that every year, but you look at the terms of success in this, just the division, the Packers, the Lions, the Bears, they all have good offensive lines. You could make the argument that we have one of the worst offensive lines in the division. That's why they are last in the division right now.
In the offseason, you're going to have to shake down a couple people for money, too. That's coming. That's coming too.
TJ Hawkinson's probably going to be one of those guys.
There's going to be a lot of vets that are
restructuring.
They're going to get shaken down for money in the offseason.
Because you got to make changes, and it has to start up front. Obviously, I think Christian Darrisaw, he's a premier left tackle in this game. When healthy, he's top 3 left tackles in the game. I honestly think that he rushed back from injury. Like, you're talking about a total knee reconstruction that he had done, and they were wanting him to get back on the field within 12 months of injuring that knee. Not even 12 months that he had to recover. It was less than 12 months they wanted him back on the field. So I think sometimes when you rush players back like that, it gets into their mental psyche. They're not there physically where they need to be. So much stress and pressure. Now you're overcompensating. When I spoke with him earlier this year, I said, what's the deal with the injuries? He said, it's not even my knee, man. He said, it's other parts. And I won't name the other injuries because I don't know if they disclose it and whatnot. But he's like, I'm dealing with other stuff now. And that's what happens when you start to overcompensate for things. Yep. And it's like they were banged up to begin with. Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, Christian Darrisaw, all coming off major injuries. And so it's just like they were dealt a bad hand to begin this season.
All right. We're talking big picture, but let's drill down on this game and the 4th and 1 call because that's what everybody is barking about. Max Brosmer said afterwards that was the call from the sideline. He did not opt out of it. Thought it, because you never know, right?
We don't know. You knew it was coming, yeah.
I mean that he didn't opt out of it. Like he didn't get up to the line and say, "Oh, the run's not going to work. I'm going to opt out of it."
For sure.
He went with what was sent in. And why do you do that to a guy who's just trying to figure the world out and give him a difficult call on a situation like that when you need 1 yard? And as you said, even though the offensive line is banged up, you should be able to figure out how to get 1 yard of turf on the ground.
Oh, the funny thing about that is when the Vikings got the ball back after the pick six, they turned around, handed off, I believe it was to Jordan Mason, and they ran it for like 4 yards. So I was like, well, that didn't look too tough. Well, I think that's probably this part of the conversation of, well, you don't have your entire offensive line healthy. I understand that, but listen, if you're good enough to be a backup offensive lineman in the National Football League, it means you have talent. It means you have ability, and you have to go in there and do your job as well. You mean to tell me that you have a couple of backups starting along the offensive line, and you can't turn around and hand the football off, get 1 yard? I mean, I find it hard to, and you're one of the few teams that still has a fullback. I mean, there's a lot of teams that the fullback is going the way of the dodo bird in a lot of areas here, in the National Football League. You still play with a fullback. You can't turn around and get 1 yard? What is this? Is this a lack of faith from Kevin O'Connell in the run game? Is this a lack of faith in the talent that he has in a situation like that? I don't understand it, and yeah, to your point, Jim, I don't know why you do that to Max Brosmer. Now, Max, of course, that was a boneheaded play that he made, and boneheaded is not a word I would use for Max Brosmer after covering him closely over the last year when he played for the Golden Gophers. He's a very cerebral, very smart, makes smart decisions with the football, and when you saw it on the replay, his head wasn't even turned. His head was looking down to the ground and just aimlessly threw it like this.
And it makes no sense because it's like you're trying to save the yardage or something by throwing it away. It doesn't matter. It's fourth down. It's going to them anyways. So whether you get sacked and lose 17 yards or you throw it away and you're back to the original line of scrimmage, who cares?
Yeah.
You're dead. The play's over. Just get out of it.
Yeah.
And I would have kicked the field goal. Mostly I would say go for it, but it was only 3-0. would have gave the offense a little confidence. We've got points. Let's kind of keep it going here with the training wheels on, and we're still in this.
Playing devil's advocate, being the former walk-on college wide receiver that I am, playing in a complex offense that I did under Kalen DeBoer, who's now the head coach at Alabama, I understand why Kevin O'Connell threw the ball on 4th and 1. Now, do I agree with that call? No, but I do understand it. It's 4th and 1. You have a young quarterback. You know you're probably going to try and do what's safe and easiest for him, which will be run the ball off. So you try and surprise the defense.
No, take the 3 and tie the game.
And I get that.
That's what I wanted.
But I was the one up there saying, go for it. You have nothing to lose at this point in this season. Give your team some confidence, because if you can somehow manage a bootleg right there, get it out to a tight end in the flat, you go get a touchdown, you're up 7-3. And with the way that defense is playing, not to say that would have been enough points, but it's like your whole team has a big morale boost after that. Your quarterback has a morale boost. It's like, all right, guys, like, we got a chance. Like, we can go do this. So it's like, I understand the aggression, but I do sit here and empathize with you, like, hey, let's run the ball. Like, let's at least give the ball to Jordan Mason. That's why we got him. So it's like, I understand where KOC was going with that play call, but I am one of the people that was arguing it on Twitter, like, give the ball to Jordan Mason. Like, it's 4th and 1. That's why you brought in this big bruising running back. Let him go get that, and then you have another 4 downs to go pick up 9 yards and get a touchdown. And so, look, but I understand you have to play with aggression. And sometimes in those moments, you have to. Are you gonna tuck your tail and be scared, or are you gonna tell your team, look, we're grown men, let's go out here and go try and win a football game, or are we playing not to lose? And so I understand why they went for it on 4th down. Just don't agree with the play call. Kevin O'Connell was asked about it after the game. Pretty much cut the reporter off and said it's a results-based league. You look at the result of that play, it didn't pan out well, and he just kind of basically had a very long-winded answer to say, maybe I should have ran the ball in that situation.
Or take the 3, because you can build momentum off that.
I just think
Darnold wasn't going anywhere today.
No,
Flores completely had him pegged.
He did.
He knew exactly every move Sam was going to make. He was in Sam's head. Sam wasn't going to beat you today. If you kept the football, got the 3, then all of a sudden there's more pressure on Darnold. Then you could go after him more, and then maybe something happens offensively. But to just sit there and call this crazy play, which you would hardly do with seasoned quarterbacks, a rollout like that, where everybody was over there. They even schemed it that way. I mean, Aaron Jones was surrounded by 3 people.
I'm with Ahmad on this. I have no problem going for it in that situation.
Okay, Dan Campbell.
Well, I have no problem going for it in that situation because you need touchdowns to win games.
Obviously. Yes, I understand that, but you have to look at where you are with your quarterback. Your offense is a complete mess. Mm-hmm. Just take the small victories. Yes, I know in a normal game that, yes, you go for the jugular at any time you could get it.
I think in that situation with how poorly Minnesota's and this is a situation because over the last 6 quarters, this offense has not been able to sustain drives. Now you have a gift on the 13-yard line. 3 is not good enough. And here's the other thing. I don't care that you were shut out. Whether you lose 26-3 or 26-0, what difference does it make?
Nothing.
If you lose by 1, you lose by 100, the result is the same. I don't care about that. That's why I think it was the right decision to go for it in that sense, because if you get yourself a touchdown, like Ahmad was saying, suddenly you wake up a little bit. You're like, hey,
you can't even get a first down right now.
I understand,
but it was 5 minutes left in the. It was 5 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yeah,
if they get a touchdown there, it's possibly 7-3 at halftime.
It's not the decision to go for it. It's the call. And I know that if Kevin O'Connell was sitting right next to us and said, you only didn't like the call because it didn't work out, I understand that. However, I don't think it is incorrect for fans who are absolutely rabid about this team, who have never coached football before but have watched enough football over the course of their lives to think to yourself, like we've all been saying, you just signed Jordan Mason in the offseason. You have another capable back in Aaron Jones who wasn't injured yet at that point.
And you got C.J. Ham.
Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's 4th and 1. You mean to tell me you can't put your hand in the dirt and push forward for a yard.
And even
So that's what
if you
O'Connell
go
was thinking.
But even if you go for it on 4th and 1, say hypothetically speaking, and you don't get it, guess what? Sam Darnold now has to drive the length of the field in 5 minutes to go get some points.
Right.
And the way your defense is playing, you trust them. That's why you make that call there to go for it, because you're trusting your defense. And I still think at that point in that juncture of the game, it's 5 minutes in the second quarter, you're down 3 points.
Right.
You get a touchdown before halftime, your defense probably gets a stop. Maybe have a chance to get a field goal, but I doubt it with the way that offense was moving. But still, you go into halftime with a 7-3 lead. That is a morale booster coming out of halftime. That makes Max Brosmer feel good. That makes the rest of the defense feels good to say, you know what, we're going to go shut out Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was 14 of 26 for 124 yards today. So, like, the whole argument of, like, what everybody used to say last year, well, at the beginning of this year, well, what if we paid Sam Darnold? What if we did this? Okay, well, let's remember, if we didn't have an offensive line and Sam Darnold was faced with the same pressure Brian Flores sent this way today, how good would Sam Darnold be this year? We don't know that answer because he's not here, and he can't come here and fix things. But what I'm saying is the offensive line is the problem. And I think in that moment of the game, you should have went for it on 4th and 1, running the ball to the right side of your offensive line, behind your starting center, behind your $88 million guard, and behind your $80 million right tackle, and behind your fullback and C.J. Ham. That's where you should have went with that ball. Gave Brosmer another 4 downs to get into the end zone. And then you could have took off another 2 to 3 minutes off the clock. Then if you don't get the touchdown, you at least go to halftime 3-3 instead of down 13-0.
No.
So
that's fine. You have to go for it. I wouldn't be as irate if they had run the ball. But to come up with that plan was just very bizarre when you're running an undrafted quarterback in his first game.
But it's a bootleg play. It's not like you're asking him to drop back 5 wide set going up against a dime look where you got 6 defensive backs.
Well, if your offensive line can't block anybody for 1 yard, how are they going to keep him off of them?
Look, I understand that, but it's like it's not like you're asking him to dissect. It's a bootleg play.
I'm just kidding. All right, so next week, McCarthy or Brosmer if McCarthy is out of concussion protocol.
You drafted him 10th overall for a reason. You go back to what you
signed Max Brosmer for a reason.
You signed him because he was here in Minnesota.
I know.
He was cheap.
I know.
You go back to McCarthy. You got to figure out what you have in 9. You have to figure out what you have in 9. Obviously, we know there's going to be a quarterback competition with the veteran next year. Someone like a Mac Jones who played in San Francisco this year and went like 4-1 as a starter. But I think
he knows that offense too.
Yeah, you got to go back to 9 though, because he has to get reps. He has to try and fight through this. That's the only way the Vikings are going to escape this.
So, changes that come in the offseason. Scouting department changes. Offensive line coach changes.
I don't know about that.
Special teams coach changes.
I don't know about that either.
I can't say here advocate for coaches to be fired.
I don't know.
Or add something. Okay.
No,
I'm just throwing it on the table. Running game coordinator. That's all.
I think Kevin O'Connell,
offensive coordinator.
For as much as I believe, I know there are a lot of people out there who are probably thinking to themselves they would like to see Kevin O'Connell give up play calling duties. I mean, I don't know if I'm at that point yet. I have been a big advocate for Kevin O'Connell. I'm a believer in him as a head coach, but I think Kevin O'Connell needs in the offseason to look in the mirror a little bit. And there are times where all across sports, I know football's a little bit more complicated because everybody's got their way that they like to do things. But I see it across sports a lot of times when you have a coach that has a way of the way he wants to do things.
Right.
And he just has those guys that he's got, and he is adamant about those guys doing it his way, as opposed to recognizing the talent that you have, and you as the head coach figure out how to maximize the talent that you have. Just because you want to do it a certain way doesn't mean the talent that you have on your team is going to be able to do it that way. So I think that's where I'm coming from with Kevin O'Connell. I think he's got to have to look in the mirror a little bit here and maybe rethink his approach to some of the guys, particularly on offense, of what he has and how he's going to be able to maximize the guys he's got on the roster.
Right. That goes back to the 4th and 1 play. You have to work with what you have.
Yeah.
And try to make those guys, even if they have limited abilities, find something that they can do to get yourself there.
Right.
I think one can make the argument that this offense has been just fine the last couple of years with Kirk Cousins, with the backup quarterbacks that they had, and Nick Mullins, Josh Dobbs, all those guys, they still had a chance to go to the playoffs that year. They were 2 games away from making the playoffs. Then they bring in Sam Darnold. They win 14 games, go to the playoffs again. One could make the argument that the offense is just fine. He just needs to make a couple of tweaks. But also, it doesn't matter what offense you're running if you don't have guys that can protect long enough for your quarterback to go make throws.
True.
And so I think there's a lot of blame to go around. Obviously, Kevin O'Connell is not ducking any of that. But I also think this offense has been just fine. Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson has emerged as one of the best receivers of all time. It's Kevin O'Connell's offense because of that. Like, Dalvin Cook was really good in his offense the first couple of years, like, and things like that. Adam Thielen flashed for a while, before he moved on. Like, people have looked good in this offense. Jordan Addison, 1,000-yard receiver. So, like, look, I get people are pointing the finger at him and saying he needs to give up play calling duties. But, like, as I said to one fan on X earlier today, this man was the coach of the year and led this team to a 14-win season last year. No one was complaining about his offensive play calls last year. Like, let's fix the personnel. It starts higher than him. And I've had people tell me behind closed doors, like, when I blame GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah for the people that they're bringing in, and he said, you're crazy if you think these aren't handpicked guys by Kevin O'Connell. And I was like, I didn't think too much into that. So maybe he does need to look in the mirror, like Pierre said, and think about who they're bringing in and who they can make work. And because it didn't work this year. And I think the only way to rectify that is to start drafting better. So then you have way more guys to choose from. And, like these undrafted guys, those are where you hit your home runs, like Jalen Redmond, things like that. Hit a home run there. Levi Drake Rodriguez, hit a home run there. You need more home runs in the undrafted free agent guys and more home runs in the draft, because going out and having to pay top tier for some of these guys, especially guys on the tail ends of their careers, it doesn't always work out as we're seeing this year.
All right, you tell us how you think the Vikings should fix this issue. You can tweet right at him. He's on the X machine all the time. Where can they find you, Ahmad?
Ahmad Hicks TV. Hey, look, don't tweet me thinking I won't tweet back, because I will tweet back. And don't be disrespectful, because I will block you like I did someone earlier today.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Pierre?
You can tweet me at the Nouj Fox 9. I don't really block people. I don't really respond, though, for the most part. I like to. Every once in a while, I'll play a few innings. I'll get into it with somebody.
I'm like KD. I'm looking at everything, and if I'm feeling up for it, I'm responding, especially if it's something that's just off the wall and not true. It's one thing if you're very opinionated and then you're hitting me with facts, but if you're just opinionated and not throwing out facts, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, so I have fun with it, so just be aware. If you tweet me, I tweet back.
All right. And, if somebody happened to just stumble across this or a clip that they run into, where can they find this show? Ahmad, would you like to tell us?
Fox Local, fox9.com, YouTube, Fox 9, Spotify, Apple. Did I miss anything, Pierre?
That sounds about right. I think you about summed it up.
All right. We've summed up this as much as we can. 26-0, your Vikings go down in flames.